Hey guys, Jackie from Non-Essential Media here, and you're listening to the Lifecast podcast. Just want to let you know that this is a podcast intended for people over the age of 13. It's unscripted, so we don't necessarily know what's going to come out of our mouths. If you are under the age of 18, please get your parents' permission before listening. I hope you guys stay tuned, and I hope you enjoy the episode. Thanks again. Alright guys, welcome back to Lifecast. We're going to talk about nostalgia in kids' movies, because this drives me freaking crazy.
We actually have a topic to start out with for once.
Instead of us just bullshitting until something comes up.
Exactly.
That's how real conversation works usually, though. So welcome. I'm Jackie.
I'm Rachel.
And yeah, welcome to Lifecast. And like I said, we're going to talk about nostalgia in kids' movies. So we ended the last episode talking about... Okay. Sorry. I looked over and there's a Dorito.
There's a what? A Dorito? Okay, guys, before you assume anything, we're in Isaac's room, and if I could just describe his room itself, when you walk in, there's nothing really on the floor. It's clean. Everything's up top, so it's not dirty, but then you look over at his garbage and it's piling over to the point where it's on to other bins next to the garbage, and there's from what I can see, 3 large McDonald's bags, Panda Express, a Pepsi container, a McChicken box, or a chicken nugget box. It's crazy. And then his desk has a container
a takeout box.
Yeah, takeout box.
I don't. What's in it?
Tacos from yesterday.
Oh, from yesterday?
Yeah.
It's just been sitting on his desk?
Well, I mean, the tacos are gone, but there's rice and beans, I think, left in there.
Well, so I look over, and the reason why I laughed is because it's just a weird thing to see on a computer desk. There's a Dorito covered in hair, and then a Reese's wrapper with some chocolate still on it.
I
it's
mean,
just chilling behind his
how
computer.
You know you're in a I want to say teenage boy room.
And then there's taco sauce in his pen drawer.
I mean, I'm thankful for that, because sometimes Taco Bell does not give you enough mild sauce.
That's true.
Sometimes they give you too much, so we gotta save it, We
Anyways, the topic, now that I'm done having my freak out over this Dorito that's within arm's reach, I think I can taste the Dorito flying off of it.
Can you get the hair feeling in there, too?
Anyways... So one thing that really drives me crazy is that they'll come up and, so I'm essentially a 90s kid, so I grew up with a lot of 90s movies. Land Before Time, great example. What's another one? Beetlejuice is one that gets mentioned a lot. Mm-hmm. Ghostbusters, another one. I'm not saying these are bad movies. I'm saying that I watched them when I was a kid and I haven't watched them since. Mm-hmm. And I don't freaking remember anything about them, and people come up and they just assume that everyone on the whole freaking planet watched those movies and continues to watch them to this day and has the entire script memorized, because why wouldn't you? What are you, stupid, not loving this movie?
Yeah.
I don't freaking know. Why would I watch it? I don't have a reason to watch it. It'd be like if I... if something that I'm a fan of, something totally fucking bonkers like Legend of the Galactic Heroes, I'm a fan of that. Uh-huh. If I just assumed everyone on the whole fucking planet was a fan like I was.
I would want to follow you around to see everyone's reactions, though, when you would start talking about it and people would be like, what the hell are you talking about?
I would have something to say here, but it would spoil the show, so I can't say anything. But moral of the story is that... why do people do that? Why do they assume that I... you mentioned Land Before Time, and I'm like, all I remember about Land Before Time is it has dinosaurs in it. And there was a dinosaur named Ducky.
There is Okay, so before we get
everyone
too crazy
dies,
here,
I don't know, because the dinosaurs died, so I'm guessing that's what happens at the end of this film.
So I understand when you're okay. So growing up, I mean, I was born mid 90s, so I not necessarily a 90s kid, but I still grew up with some 90s stuff.
Sure.
But I never watched The Goonies. I never watched I've never seen Ghostbusters. I've never there's certain stapled movies people talk about that I've never seen in my entire life. And then when people start talking about them, they, like you said, they talk about them like you should be able to relate to it. And I'm like, I have never watched that. They're like you've
offended.
Never seen that movie? And I'm like, no. I don't know. I just never had an interest. And it wasn't like I wasn't allowed to watch them or I couldn't watch it. We just never watched them. I never had an interest. And to me, I I don't know, if I liked a show, especially when you're a kid, I was gonna watch it and continue watching it. Like Land Before Time, that was definitely a movie for me I loved, and I've watched, well, up until like when I got too old and they kept making them, and now they're just like weird
they've made
shows,
like they made like 9 Land
they're
Before
like,
Time movies.
Land Before Time 21. No. Land Before Time, I think I watched like the first 5 or 6 of them, and I loved every single one of them. But that's the thing too, is I think the last time I watched Land Before Time, it was the first one, and I watched it like a few years ago. But it's not like I've gone back and rewatched all the other ones, Yeah, but there's some movies that I've just never seen, and people freak out about.
They get mad.
Yeah.
And even we had Land Before Time on VHS, and I know I watched it quite a few times. But
VHS. Soon people are gonna be like, "What is?"
They're like, "What does that mean?" But it's even if I saw it a lot of times, like it didn't, like I don't remember it, and it's weird to me how people have this like. But it's the same thing. Like I've talked about this before with probably not on this podcast, but with you about how people like they know things that to me I'm like, why did you remember that? Like for example, but then we're going to go back to the earthquake thing. Like people, they can list off 20 actors and 20 movies they've been in. I couldn't list 20 actors. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if 20 actors exist. Every movie could be played by the same actor for all I know.
Yeah.
But I can tell you information about the Great Japan Earthquake like it's nothing. And there's other people that don't even know it happened.
Yeah.
And so it's, I guess for me, it's like, I've never understood how people can like latch onto that stuff and remember it instead of finding something else. It goes to show you though, like how different our brains are. Because see, I'm very much so. I have a great memory, but I remember really weird stuff. Like it's really weird if I meet someone, and I can meet someone and remember their name, remember a story they told me the first time I met them, remember really weird things about them, to where if I were to see them again and say that to them, they'd be like, "You're stalker creepy, like stop." And it's just the way my brain works. Like there's just certain things to pick up on. There's things as a kid that I remember, like Land Before Time or like Scooby-Doo, or certain things that I watched as a kid that I remember, but then there's other things that I just don't. Maybe it's because our obviously we think differently and we were interested in different things. So like to me, growing up, I hated history, didn't want anything to do with it. So now that I'm older, I have an interest in it, but I really don't know as much as I should because I never had an interest in it and I just did the bare minimum in school. But I can name like 100 actors if I had to, like I can name actors, I can name movies, because when I was a kid, like that was my interest, or like different facts about certain movies or shows that I watched, because that's just what I liked to do as a kid. I mean, I guess there's some things that I could list random facts about, but when it comes to pop culture, I'm a Star Trek fan. I can tell you how many bathrooms that the Enterprise B has on it, but
see, like that's a random thing to know.
Well, I don't remember how. I think my dad's the one who taught me that actually, but and for me, like a lot of my memories around shows and movies isn't actually what happened in the show. It was, what was the weather like outside? Had I just eaten? What day was it? Who had I just talked to? You have an
association to it by real life kind of thing.
Yeah, so like,
that makes sense.
Like Star Trek The Next Generation, Fox 66 at 6 o'clock, dinner time, an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation was on. I have memories of knowing it was time to be home for dinner because Star Trek was starting. I remember watching the episode and it being dark out, and I don't remember what episode we were watching, but it was obviously wintertime because it was dark already by 6 o'clock. I'm a big fan of Digimon. I don't remember. It's weird. The only reason I remember a lot about Digimon is because I watch it every year. I go back and watch Adventure. It's just part of my routine. And I couldn't tell you. I can remember certain feelings about episodes, but if I had not watched Digimon in the last 20 years, I wouldn't be able to tell you what happened in that show, but I could tell you what it felt like to wake up at 7 o'clock in the morning to turn on Fox Kids and watch it. And my mom would make breakfast for us, and we'd eat eggs and pancakes, and me and my brother would watch a new episode of Digimon. Actually, it was always 2 new episodes every Saturday. Like, I remember that, but fuck off, I remember what happened in the show. We watched Power Rangers. I don't remember anything about Power Rangers. I remember, yes, after 10,000 years, I'm free, or 1,000 years, whatever. Oh my God. I can remember that, but I don't remember what happened in the show. But so it's really weird to me that there's people that can look back on movies or TV shows and they just And it's so important to them too. It's like I said earlier, it's like offensive to them if you don't know what they're talking about.
See, I feel like I'm a mix in between that. Like, if someone doesn't know what I'm talking about, maybe it's just because I'm one of those people that really haven't seen a lot of those movies or shows that people are like, oh my god, you have to watch. So if someone hasn't seen something, I'm just like, sometimes I'll be shocked if it's like because to me, I'm like, if I've seen it, I'm assuming everyone has seen it because I haven't watched all those popular movies or shows. But I also associate it with, like, I can tell you what was going on in life while watching that show. Yeah. But I can remember certain things also from that show just because of my interest for it. But, like, I remember being, like, 9 years old and watching Transformers Armada, and we had our VHS tape that would record the episode because it would come on Sundays, a new episode, and we went to church in the morning. So we would record it while we were at church, come home, put the VHS in, and then rewatch it. And so I can remember stuff like that, but I can't tell you, like you're talking about, like, I can't necessarily tell you every detail. And the only reason I can from certain things is because I've rewatched it. Yep. But there's people that have, will watch it when they were a kid and can, like Heather, for instance, she's one of those people that it's like a movie quote person from any movie. Like, I can see a movie 10 times and still not quote it, you know? Same. Like, I really don't have an interest in that. If someone mentions, like, something from it, I'll be like, oh, yeah, haha, and laugh. But she'll quote stuff from movies constantly, and she can, like, quote a whole movie. And I'm like, or she'll say something to me, and I just look at her blankly, like, I don't know. I know that's from a movie because of the way you're saying it, but I don't know what you're talking about. That drives me crazy when people do that. Yeah. Because it makes me feel awkward because I'm like, okay, am I supposed to just, like, most of the time I just laugh and pretend like I know what she's talking about, but I really don't. And then sometimes when I really don't know and I'm just, like, confused, I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And she's like, it's from this, duh. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah, not everyone on the whole freaking planet remembers I don't that stuff. Care. What is wrong with you? Oh my
you God. Just made me feel really awkward, and you're my sister. Stop.
Yeah, you know, it's... Yeah, I can quote certain... I remember quotes from... I'm an anime fan. I remember quotes from some anime because the anime was really important to me. Like, I can tell you a quote from Legend of the Galactic Heroes, or there's, like, 2 from Haikyuu that I could easily... Well, there's more than that, actually, from Haikyuu. There's, like, 5 probably from all of Haikyuu that I could, like, rattle off. But that's because when I heard those words spoken, it impacted me immediately. And I don't watch a lot of movies where something was said and it, like, impacted me. You know, so it's weird that people can remember, like, especially quips. Yeah. We've talked about quips before. I think I talked to you about quips. Like, the Avenger movies. Yeah. Loaded with quips. It gets old really fast. I don't remember those because there's, number one, if there's a lot of them, I'm going to stop paying attention at some point. Exactly. But it's not, even if it makes me laugh, it's probably not actually impactful in a deeper sense.
Exactly. Yeah, and the stuff you remember is gonna impact you in a deep way. Like when it hits that's the way is the stuff I remember from movies or shows, it impact me in a deep way, in a way that I'm not gonna quote it to someone. Like gonna quote it in a way, like a funny way, like most people do. It's like in Avatar or in Korra when she sees Aang again, you know, and he's like,
quote is so good.
It's when we're at our
lowest point that we're open to the greatest change. Oh my God, yes. That quote, and then the one by Zahir in the 3rd season when he kills the Earth Queen, and he's like, freedom is just as essential as air. Without it, there can be no light, only darkness.
Ooh, goosebumps.
That was that quote.
It's stuff though, like deep stuff like that it really hits you. And you're like, whoa.
It makes you think.
Exactly. It makes you think. But when people say a quote from a movie and I know what they're talking about, like, yeah, I'm gonna laugh, you know, it's funny. Or we have, like, jokes from, like, different animes, different stuff that we watch that we laugh at. But the stuff that you really remember is the stuff that impacts you in that kind of way, you know? But when it's very something, like, I don't know, you hear all the time, where it's just kind of comedic, and it's one of those things that everyone knows. You're just kind of like, oh, okay, whatever, you know, that's funny, ha, 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 you know? But yeah, it's the deep stuff that really stays with you, at least for us.
Well, and there's one quote from I'm gonna go back into anime again. Everyone that's listening to this podcast that hates anime is turning it off. But Shogun Roku Ekugo Shinju. Yeah.
Everyone's gonna be like, "What did she just say?"
I guess the English title is just not the translation, but what it's the manga's marketed as is Descending Story. So I'll say Descending Story from now on. There's a part in the anime where the quote itself wasn't deep, but the way the directing was done, I got goosebumps. And she literally, what she says is, the next time we see each other, we'll be in hell. It'll be in hell.
Mm-hmm.
Something similar. I don't even remember the exact quote. I think that's what it was. But what I remember was, as a fan of animation and a film student, was this, just the way it was framed, the way that scene was directed, and how it hit me. Like, I was like, I got goosebumps from that scene. I was like, I'm watching a freaking masterpiece right now. Mm-hmm. That was a moment when I realized I was watching something really cool and impactful. But the quote itself didn't change my... I mean, there's nothing about that's going to be like, oh my god, my view on the world has shifted.
Yeah, right?
Not at all. But, but the constantly quoting movies, like, I remember one time someone quoted Ghostbusters to me, and I literally was just staring at them. Like, what are you talking about? I didn't realize they were quoting a movie. I had no idea. Yeah. I was like, what does this have to do with what we're doing? I think we're, like, throwing cardboard in a baler or something. And they said some quote.
And then when you're like, I don't know what you're talking about. They're like, how do you not know what I'm talking about?
That was literally their reaction. And they were like, it's from Ghostbusters. How do you not know? Bro, last time I watched Ghostbusters, I was 10 years old. Yeah. Obviously, it didn't mean that much to me when I was a kid. Yeah. And maybe I should go back and rewatch it, and I'll think it's the greatest film ever made. I don't know.
See, but that's the thing, too, is, you know what I've come to realize is, you know, we have all these great memories and experiences we remember as a kid, and we associate them with shows, songs, different stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And so when you think about it, you're like, man, this is so amazing. And then you can go back and rewatch a show or listen to a song or replay some kind of experience in your life, and you realize, like, wow, this is obviously meant to be a memory because it's so much greater as a memory than it is reliving it again. You know, like, rewatching this movie, it was nowhere near as good as I thought it was. And I wish I wouldn't have rewatched it because then I just ruined it.
Yep.
You know? And so there's some things that I'm just like, now that I've learned that, like, as you get older, you experience that and you learn that some things are just meant to be a memory and they should stay that way. Yep. And so certain things I'm just never going to rewatch because I feel like I'd ruin it for myself if I did, you know? And I want it to stay pure and good in my mind that way, you know?
You want to keep the nostalgia goggles on.
Well, there's also some things, though, as you watch as a kid that, like, totally went over your head because you're a kid and you rewatch and you're like, this is so dirty. Like,
that's like 90% of the stuff that was on Nickelodeon when I was a kid. Like, Rocko's Modern Life had some jokes. Oh, my God. Like, going back, I'm just like, how did I get away with watching this?
Yeah.
It's a real question.
Exactly.
So, there's that at least. But for a lot of people, I think they... Like, because me and you, we're different. Like, we go back and we watch something from our childhood, and we watch it with a critical eye most of the time. Mm-hmm. Most of the time, we watch it with a critical eye. And so we can sully that memory very quickly by analyzing what we thought was great at one point and realizing it's not that great. A lot of people, though, like, we live in the era of nostalgia. Mm-hmm. Everyone wants to go back to their childhood. They want to go back to simpler times, to easier times. And they do that by rewatching these movies or these shows or listening to these songs or rereading books or rereading comics or whatever that maybe don't actually hold up as good as we want them to, but they in their mind they've already convinced themselves it's the greatest thing ever. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the one downside that me and you have is we can't go back and rewatch the things that weren't that great.
I mean, think about it, like Avatar, for example.
We talked about this,
Yeah, like I still think Avatar is one of the greatest cartoons that I watched as a kid. Like,
it is hands down.
I absolutely love it. But when I was a kid, it was like the most amazing show in my entire life. You know, like, I loved everything about it. And then to rewatch it when you're older, you're like, you're more critical, like you're saying of it. You're like, wow, this is so slow. Or there's like, why didn't they do this? You know, or they should have done, like, you realize all these different things. You realize some stuff about it that's like, well, this is really deep. It goes beyond even what kids can understand, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
But then you also understand other things that, like, okay, this still is a kid's show, you know?
Yeah, like, I stand by the fact that Fire Lord Ozai is the most childish villain that I've... Not very well done villain.
No.
But it's okay because, yeah, everything else in that, like, I'm not going to go on an Avatar rant here. I'm trying not to, but the thing with Avatar is that I watched Avatar. Avatar came out when I was in high school. Mm-hmm. So I was already too old for Avatar. But boy, it was something that my group of friends, we knew at 5 o'clock. It was 5 o'clock for us. I think it was like 8 o'clock on the East Coast.
Yeah.
On Nickelodeon, a new episode of Avatar came out. Like, we knew that. We got together. We watched it together. Mm-hmm. When it was over, we went out to Granny's Buffet. We filled our bellies and we talked about, and we would theorize what was going to happen next. And because it was such a you can't really tell in the first season, and the third season drops the ball, but in that second season, it is such a well-constructed show for a kid's show that you have to, like, I have to remind myself constantly, you're watching a show for 10-year-olds. Because at times, especially with the twist at the end of book 2 with what Zuko's decision is.
Oh, yeah.
That felt really well done. It was, and it was great for his character arc that you don't normally see that in a kid's show. Which is why Ozai is such a disappointing villain, because you had characters on the flip side of that was his son Zuko, who was one of the greatest characters ever written in a kid's show. Probably the greatest character in a kid's show ever is Zuko.
Definitely.
And on the flip side, to have his dad, who's the villain, be such a flat character is disappointing.
Yeah. It's because it's really hard not to go on an Avatar right
really,
now because
so
we're already in it. But it's like, you know, like with Zuko, like you see him fighting so many deep things within himself. Like he's literally fighting evil and good. Yep. And it's just like, when you watch it happen, especially when you're older and you're seeing it happen, you're like, wow, like you can identify with him in moments in your life because you have those experiences yourself. But you're just like, wow, like he's really experiencing life right now. He's really going through it. And you see that with the choices he makes and the things that happen, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so to see that happen in a kid's show, you're like, whoa, it's mind-blowing, you know?
It is.
And that's why, yeah, to me, which is, it's crazy because you, like, have these deep characters like Zuko, and then you just have, like, Sokka, who,
I love Sokka.
I do too, but you have,
Sokka's
like,
amazing.
The comedic relief, you know?
Sokka was deep in his own way.
But even Sokka, you know, like, he starts out in the very first episode as, like, this really, like...
He was very misogynistic.
Oh, yeah.
He didn't want the magic. Like, he for lack of a better term, he was a conservative male.
Yeah.
Like, that's what he was, you know, someone that everything that people don't like about a conservative male is what he was.
Exactly.
And you watch him learn to accept that women can be powerful, they can be intelligent. You watch him learn to accept that there are things outside of his rational mind, which is the bending. Like, to him, like, it's scary because it's irrational.
Yeah.
And he's a very rational minded person. And, and I like that part of his character development was kind of looking at being like, there's some things in life that I can't use a reason to define.
Yeah,
and that's bending. And he had no choice because, I mean, his sister's like one of the greatest waterbenders of all time. And
it's just hard for him because he doesn't have that ability, you know?
Yeah, and
it's foreign to him.
Yeah, I'm sure if he feels like an outcast when you're traveling with the Avatar.
Oh, God.
And your weapon is a boomerang.
To be part of the gang, man.
The fearsome foursome.
When I was a kid, I would have given anything to be there.
To go on that journey.
Even now, man.
That's the thing is, at the end of the day, and I guess this kind of comes full circle, is that regardless of why it is you're ingesting some sort of media, whether it's music or books or comics or TV or movies, it's all about escapism. And for some people, the escapism is the nostalgia. And I think for me, like, the escapism when I'm seeking that is I want to be in their shoes. And
that's when you know. That's when you know. At least for me, like, and that's with anything. If I'm listening to a podcast, watching a movie, listening to a song, or watching a video on YouTube of two people, like, if what I'm watching is making me want to be there in that moment, they've done what they needed to do.
Yep.
You know, because I'm so interested that I'm like, man, I wish I was there. You know, and that's like you're talking about. That's the escapism that people want. You know, to be able to think like, oh, I want to be there. And hopefully your life isn't too bad that, like, you want to be there so badly.
That you're going crazy over it. Yeah, for sure. And for us, we just don't use... For most people, the escapism is the nostalgia. And so that's why they latch on to Ghostbusters. Do I want to be a Ghostbuster? Absolutely not. But, I mean, just as an example.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. But I understand the nostalgia factor as well, because it is a form of escapism. And I even, I listen to songs from the 90s, and I think about... some summers in the 90s when I was a kid and growing up in easy life, and my biggest worry was making sure I got home in time for dinner and watching Star Trek. That was it, that was all I cared about. But now it's you get older and you long for that.
You become an adult and have to pay bills and figure out your life, and when you're a kid you can't wait to get there, and then you realize when you're here, you're like, man, what I'd give to, like, go back in my childhood. And not, if I could go back in my childhood and not necessarily, like, well, obviously, if I went back, I'd be reliving it. But, like, to just get rid of the feelings I had of wanting to grow up.
Yeah.
And I think
Enjoy
obviously
it.
that's part of being a kid, but I really wish, and I enjoyed being a kid, but at some point in middle school, it was for me, it's like I got so caught up in wanting to be an adult, to wanting to grow up, where you kind of miss out. It's like you stop allowing yourself to get into kid stuff because you're like, oh, I shouldn't be into that anymore.
Exactly.
Because
you want to be cool.
Yeah, I want to be cool, and I want to be older, so I can't be a kid like this anymore.
I never had that problem. I still love kid stuff.
I mean,
still watch
did
cartoons
too,
every day.
I mean, when I was like 19 years old, I was still playing hide and go seek at the library park. So.
Nerd.
There's some things that I just never grow out. I'll never grow out of, but there's also some things I wish as a kid that I could go back and tell myself, like, don't rush. Yeah, appreciate it. Don't rush it. And you can tell kids that now, but kids are always going to feel that way.
Listen. Yeah. There's a quote from a play that hits me every time I hear it, and I'm going to butcher it, but essentially it was, does any person realize life as they live it every single moment? And the response was, no. The saints and poets, maybe they do some. And for me, when I remember reading that play and just thinking, like, damn, you're right. You don't. Even now, as you're trying to think about how you're living life and how you're experiencing this moment, you can't. You can't fathom that in your head. That this is the only chance you're going to have for this moment.
Yeah.
And you're going to have more moments in the future, and moments are going to continue up until the time you pass. But to appreciate this moment right now is impossible.
Exactly.
We can only appreciate it in hindsight. And
well, I mean, think about it. Like, the other projects we worked on. Like, I could look back and appreciate those moments and be like, wow, I really miss it. But in that moment...
You didn't think about that.
You don't think about it. And, I had a moment where... Because my mom always tells us, especially everything she's been through, to live in the moment every day. To live your life day by day and to appreciate the moment you're in. And so I've really tried to put that into practice. And the other day, I was playing Minecraft with Isaac.
Nerd.
And Chloe was taking a nap and she was in her room and Blake was at work, so it was just me in my room and Isaac in his room, and we're playing Minecraft together. And I remember this exactly because I thought it was weird. I got this overwhelming feeling of just appreciation, and I was adjusting myself in my chair and I sat down and had my controller and looking at the screen, and I was like, man, this feels like when I was a kid again, playing video games. And it just felt so good. And I actually had a moment where I was like, I need to appreciate this moment right here. Because for once, I wasn't stressing about making sure Chloe was fed and taken care of because she was sleeping. And Blake was at work. And I didn't have any issues weighing on my mind at that moment. And I had...
You lived the moment.
Yeah. And it was just so awesome. And I was like, man, if this is what it's like to live in the moment, I want to live in the moment every day of my life, and appreciate it. But like you said, it's hard. It's hard to have those moments. Mm-hmm. They just hit you like that. You go throughout the day and life goes by so fast, and there's so many things we have to take care of in a day that you don't think about it,
Yep, there's very, very rarely...
Appreciate your moments, people.
Appreciate it. I'm going to hopefully appreciate my eardrums after that. It's funny, though, because, I learned that lesson being a baseball fan, being specifically a Seattle Mariners fan, because I can tell you right now, I watch 162 games, 9 innings each, sometimes more, of Seattle Mariners baseball every year. Have we ever won a championship? No, we've never even been to a championship game. We've never been to the World Series. But the one thing that I can say is that I have a lot of great memories of watching great baseball. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's only one play the whole week. There's one play that makes me happy. But that's what I learned from... That's one of the reasons why I became a baseball fan was, that and we were winning when I was a kid. But it teaches you these lessons that, it's a long season. Life is a long season.
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate each pitch as you get it, because that pitch could be your moment, and maybe that's the only moment you're going to get all 162 games.
Talking about baseball, it makes me think of that quote that's in that. Well, it's in the movie. It's a Cinderella story, but it's also like a bunch of other words like, "Don't let the fear of striking out keep you from playing the game."
Yep.
And it's so true. Like if you think about it, it's true. Like because that goes along with life too, and moments, and living your life to the fullest and appreciating the moments you do have.
Exactly.
And I think everyone has those moments where they look back and think, man, I wish I would have done this differently, or like appreciate this more like when people pass away, or,
that's inevitable.
A chapter of your life is closed,
Yeah.
But it's like if we were to live life thinking like that every day, like appreciating those, imagine how much greater.
We'd feel more fulfilled, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we'd realize how great we have it, even when things are crappy.
When I was texting you last week and we were preparing
you sent me. I was trying to watch Game of Thrones for the first time.
I'm getting all sappy and stuff.
You guys convinced me to watch this terrible show, and in the meantime, you're sending me 20 text messages.
I know. I told Isaac I was pulling a Jackie.
I'm the great motivator. That's my job.
But I was so, like, in that moment, like, I had so much gratitude for life. And I was like, man, you know, I'm not exactly where I want to be in life, but I have so much to be thankful for, you know? Like, I have a roof over my head. We have income coming in. I have a beautiful family. I have amazing friends. And then I have an amazing life, you know? Like, I'm not the richest person. I'm still living with my parents, you know? Like, I don't have my own car. We're having to share one. But the thing is, it's, like, beyond all that, I have food to eat. I have shelter. I loved. I could give love. And what more could you ask for, you know? And to me, those are the things that you learn and realize, like, that's what matters in life. Not money, not, you know, how famous you are, or, I don't know, what the views people have of you. And I think that I lived a lot of my life growing up that way of, like, adapting to what I thought people wanted me to be. And now I'm like, I don't really care, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I used to feel like I always had to wear makeup and have my hair done, and I couldn't leave the house unless I looked all put together, and now I'm like, I'm going to wear my laundry clothes, the clothes that I never wear because I'm doing all my laundry, and I'm going to go to Walmart, and I'm going to look ratchet and ugly, and
you're one of those. You're a Walmart
care.
people.
Oh, yeah.
Disgusting.
I mean, I only do that at Walmart because there's some places, you know, Walmart is meant for that. But, I mean, you can't, like, go into, like, I wouldn't go to the mall like that.
The mall's too high class for your ratchet clothes.
Well, you never know who you're going to run into. I mean, even at Walmart, you're never going to know. You never know who you're going to run into.
I don't run into
someone I saw.
I run away.
And I just, like, I run away. I don't want that, because it's like you're either going to have that awkward experience where you both make eye contact and you both don't want to talk to each other, but you don't want to, like, make it awkward in a way of, like, seeming like you don't like that person, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you know
it's really confusing. I don't know.
I know what you're trying to say, actually, and we're at the end of this episode.
Perfect.
So we can
discuss it the next
one.
one.
Because I have a story to tell. Okay. Apparently, I'm the one who's continuing these episodes over. I have a story.
But it's always, I'm looking forward to it.
Okay,
so.
I hope you are, because you're here and you're going to have to deal with it.
Sounds good.
So thanks for listening to our rant about nostalgia and movies and
appreciate
the moment, guys. Enjoy life.
Appreciate this podcast for what you can.
Exactly. I mean, one day you're going to be dead or dying, and you're going to wish that you were back in this moment. And if you are dead or dying, I'm sorry.
We're sorry.
Like,
we hope that you
look
dead. Back. We hope that you stop being dead, and that you look back in your life and you realize, wow, my life wasn't so bad.
Yeah, I got to listen to this god-awful podcast.
Yeah. So, and then I hope that makes you realize how good your life is.
You're like, at least I wasn't on that podcast.
Exactly. At least I didn't spend my entire life listening to this podcast. And if you did...
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. We appreciate it.
Send us money. No.
We need money to get this off the ground, so please help.
Anyways, thanks for listening to Lifecast. I'm Jackie.
I'm Rachel.
And we hope you look forward to the next episode. Hey guys, Jackie from Non-Essential Media here again. I just want to say thank you so much for listening. Please reach out to us. We want to get to know you guys. We want to hear from you guys. You can get a hold of us on Twitter at NonEssentialM. We also have a Facebook page. Just search Non-Essential Media on Facebook. We also have our own website, nonessentialmedia.com. And there you can learn more about us, the creators, as well as our other projects and our other podcasts, which include stuff like Chaos Fiction and Zeros of the Tabletop. One last thing, we do have a Patreon. Please check it out. We got some really cool rewards, some interesting tiers. You can see behind the scenes stuff. We got some special content we want to get to you guys. We also have something unique called Non-Essential Personnel. So get on Patreon, check it out. And once again, thank you guys so much for listening. We do appreciate your support. Take care of yourselves. We love you guys. Love yourself. And we'll see you again on the next episode.